Knock, knock.
Steve, what are you doing?
I said knock, knock.
Seriously? We have a lot to talk about. We got a lot of feedback this week. We need to start the podcast.
Knock, knock.
Fine. Who's there?
Interrupting zombie.
Interrupting zombie.
Brains.
Seriously? The following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, and some terrible knock-knock jokes. Sorry.
Not sorry.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. The dead are coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, an all Walking Dead universe podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, and welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Knock Knock Steve.
Brains. And this is podcast episode 293. And can I just say it's so exciting to be covering a show that actually deserves to be covered? It's fantastic. This week we're going to be discussing The Walking Dead, Dead City, episode 2 of the first season. Title of the episode is Who's There? Who? Like an owl. Who is there?
Who?
Or no, because that's Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton. Anyway, sorry, we just said hoof a million times. Let's before we get into details about the episode, let's talk quick thoughts on the episode. Looks like you went last week, so I will go first. You did, and I did. So I would say, I think this is difficult. I liked a lot of stuff about the episode. I think it's when you're grading on a curve and you grade anything against Fear the Walking Dead, which is what we just watched, it's going to seem like really great, better character development, better writing, better situations, like situations that make sense. Like, a majority of what we saw in this episode was situations that, generally speaking, made sense for these characters, in general. If you hold it against like some of the better Walking Dead stuff, I think there's still some issues here and there, but I feel like they are nitpicky. Like, I would say overall, I liked this episode. I'm liking this show more than I thought I would, because I'm not a big Negan or Maggie person. So I'm liking it more than I thought I would. And there are some nitpicks, and I've got some stuff there, but I would say overall, it's a solid B. That's the best I can do. What about you? What did you think of this episode?
I liked it. I'm enjoying the series so far. Like I said last week, I kind of wanted to get a couple episodes before I really weigh in, positive or negative. And I thought that this one, last week was sort of the quick intro, right, where we just sort of like, oh, this is what's going on, and now suddenly we're in New York and all that. And I think we were kind of like, on some of the points, like, how far in the future is this from when we last saw these two, and where exactly are they, and all those kind of things. And this one, I think, was just more of let's get into the story,
right?
And just much more of, oh, okay, now they're on the island in the city, and they're starting to encounter some of the denizens that inhabit this, apparently, that have survived, the 1.5 million walkers or whatever they said that was already there after they blew all the bridges and everything. But I thought there was a lot of fun stuff to it. There's still a couple of things where I'm like, why are we wasting time on this story? Which we'll get into, when we get into our points. Yeah. But I actually like the character of Negan, and I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan's portrayal of him, and so I enjoyed a lot of what they did this episode with him, and also with Maggie and her, growing revulsion of the character yet again.
Mm-hmm.
I think she had buried a lot of the feelings about him
Mm-hmm.
that, just over time and everything. And I think, now a lot of them are starting to come back, and that's, bad for him. So,
Oh yeah.
but so far, like I said, I'm enjoying it. And like you said, when you put it up to the lens of comparing anything to Fear the Walking Dead, it's going to look like the greatest television ever made. So
yes.
I think that's definitely tempering all of our reaction to it, because we're just like, oh my God, it's a story, and it doesn't suck, and the characters aren't really annoying, and all, you know what I mean? So it's just all these things. We're like, oh, this is so, I don't know what to do. So we're definitely overreacting a little. But I do think it's a good show, and I am certainly, glad that we get to talk about this rather than the Morgan drivel we had for the last 6 weeks.
Agreed. I would even say too that, like, for me, regardless of story and character arc, I am like, even if those weren't great, which there are some really good things that are going on, even if any of that wasn't great, and I know I always say Fear has great, settings and great design, just any of the the zone, drone style shots that they've been showing of, Manhattan and stuff like that, any of the shots from above, shots of the city, I'm here for it. I could just sit and watch that like for an hour if they wanted to do a whole episode on that. That would be fine with me. Just looking at the decay and the details of that would be amazing. But they did that, and they actually put in some characters that we care about, and some writing that's not bad, and some situations that are not bad, and hopefully they give it some room to breathe and room to grow. So we'll see more things, and things get better and better and better and better. So let's move on to our individual points on the episode. Before we do that, let's first go over the episode description for this week's episode. So Steve, that's all you, man.
All right. Well, this week's episode is being brought to you by...
Get ready, New York. Knucklehead Productions is proud to present Negan Smith and the Apocalypse Comedy All-Stars. Even though the world ended in 2009, hilarity lives on. Just look at this lineup. Maggie the Widow Reed.
Information. That's what I thought you were here for. Been pretty tight-lipped about the Crow app. So he's gonna want to kill you.
Bald guy tells you how to laugh, Tommaso.
Yeah. Ha.
Crazy Pigeon Lady.
מסוכן, מאוד. אי אפשר.
And the master of ceremonies himself, Negan Smith.
Knock, knock. I said, knock, knock. Knock, knock. Who's there? Butter. Butter who? Well, you better get out your umbrellas, because it is about to goddamn rain.
And we're pleased to announce the addition of the comic stylings of Mo Ren and Ghoulie Grace.
What's it for?
Get your tickets today. Operators are standing by. The Big Apple may be rotten, but the humor will be off the charts.
I mean, I get it. The world went to hell and you stopped giving a shit. But my dude, there is a line.
All right. Well, I know I am definitely going to buy tickets to that.
I'm not usually a go to the comedy club kind of gal, but I like the lineup. Oh, God, Negan lineup. See what I did there?
See what you did there. That's right.
So funny.
That's right. See, it just makes it that much funnier. And with the addition of Mo Ren and Ghoulie Grace, I mean,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, they're the all-stars, really.
They are. It is. It's the Apocalypse All-Stars. It really is. So kudos to the Knucklehead Productions for putting that together. I think that's going to be a fine show somewhere in the dying island of Manhattan. So anyway, our episode description is as follows. And again, this is episode 1.2 of Dead City, entitled Who's There? And our description is, Maggie and Negan encounter native New Yorkers. Armstrong, that would be Ranger Armstrong, for those of you scoring at home, revisits a trauma. Ginny attempts to adapt to change. And that is your episode description.
Mm-hmm. Did the writer, I know the writer is the same. I have a feeling the Eli Jorn, he's the showrunner, and I think he's also listed as creator as well. Did the director, is that different from last week? It's the same. Okay, no. So
yeah, and I think that was intentional. Starting off a show, it's not uncommon to have a director, one director, do the first couple of episodes, because then you get one vision, one style.
Yeah, one kind of tone like throughout. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, the first couple episodes, that's when you're world building. That's when you're establishing what the show's all about. And if you're bringing in different directors, that can make it harder for the audience to identify sometimes, because, one episode will be really dark and then the next episode might be a little lighter or you just different style. And then you're like, I don't, that's not what it was last week. And so it's not uncommon to do that just for the first couple. I do not believe Laura Iaconelli is the director next week, because I think it just listed these 2 episodes with her. But anyway, that is the same writer director team as last week. So it's Eli Jorn or Jorne, or however you pronounce it. And as you said, he is the showrunner, he is the head writer and the creator. So this is entirely his baby. And then Laura Iaconelli is the director. So there you go. That is your writer and director.
The episode starts off basically about 20 seconds after the previous episode ended, because we've got Negan and Maggie still inside the dry cleaners, except it's probably about 20 seconds later, because the pigeon lady is she's absconded with their backpack and is leaving, and they of course have to follow, and so they're following her through, and she eventually leads them all the way over to the groups of people that we meet. But as they're going through, we don't know where she's headed, if it's going to be someplace, is it safe, they don't know, and they have to sort of make a big kind of leap of faith to sort of follow her. And they end up at this elevator shaft. And I thought, I don't know about you, but, they sort of peek into the elevator shaft and see her climbing up the sort of metal rung ladder that's on the inside of the shaft. And so clearly they have to follow. And it looks, if you've got heights issues, it's, scary. But they take a peek, and at some point, a ghoul just falls to the bottom, and they see the ghoul hit the bottom of the shaft, and then there's like a bunch of other bodies down there. And it's funny because it gave me real heavy vibes from the episode of Walking Dead, the Slab Town episode, when Beth was at the hospital, and that's where they got rid of people, was they threw them down that shaft, and the Zeds that were there would sort of take care of them. And I just felt like that was it's interesting, because if you're gonna harken back to an episode and remind you of like little Easter eggy moment there, where you're like, oh, this makes me think of that. It's interesting that it's actually an episode that featured Maggie's sister. So I thought that was cool. Scary and creepy as hell, but I thought that was a little cool moment there in the beginning. So
yeah.
Liked it.
Yeah, I kind of have 2 minds. It definitely could be an Easter egg, absolutely, but also it could just be, you know, and that it's just a creepy setting to do something in the abandoned building with the elevator shaft that happens to be something we've done before. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It could be either or. And you know, if it is an Easter egg, I think that's really cool because I like those. And I like that they reward the, you know, the crazy people like us that are, you know, obsessed about this show and remember all that stuff.
Right.
But at the same time, it could just have been just a great, you know, just a setting, and they you know, the guys doing it going, let's do the Walker Fallen and all that stuff. But anyway, I agree. It was very creepy and effective for that opening sequence.
And a great visual too, because it's, you know, it's not often that you get a really great visual reminder of this is what will happen if you fall.
Yes, you
You're
fall,
like,
you are not getting back up.
You are not getting up. That is for sure.
The only person who ever got back up was Rosita, and she actually got bit somehow. So
yeah, we're not even really sure how that happened. As we sort of transition out of that moment and we, you know, cut to the opening credits, I realized that it's and yes, we had a lot to talk about last week because we had 2 episodes to talk about, and we really had to sort of like purge Fear the Walking Dead from our minds and our hearts and, you know, pretty much every place it was living rent free. And I realized we didn't talk about the opening title sequence for Dead City because it's a new show. It's something totally different. And I thought it was very cool. So I just wanted to take a second and talk about it because it's something new to discuss. So I thought that I didn't notice it last week, but I did notice it this week, that the music that they used in the scene in the final moments of the cold open leading into it, it was like seamless. It was like it transitioned from that to the theme. And even though I'm pretty sure they were 2 different pieces of music, it was just like it created this feeling, and then it capitalized on that with the music they used in the opening. So I thought that was really cool. And it's all of these really great flashes of images. It starts with this eye. It's a ghoul, like right up close to the face, and the ghoul's eye opens, and reflected in the eye is the Empire State Building. And then there's like fire and smoke and all of that other stuff. Lots of really great sort of hints and visual things about, you know, I don't necessarily think that they are things that we will definitely see in the series, but they all sort of evoke a feeling. You know, like I said, lots of images of buildings, you know, torn, you know, not torn down, but broken apart and in various stages of decay. Some are on fire, some aren't. There's a lot of smoke. We see a lot of ghouls walking around. They do have this really great image where they show a bridge. I'm not sure which bridge it's supposed to be because New York has a few. They show Times Square, which is great because in lots of apocalypse movies we've seen them use that before visually. Times Square being empty of people and stuff is always very weird looking. And then they have this great moment just before you get to the close of it where it's an image from above, and it's, you know, ghouls on the street and these buildings, and then there's like a tiny little image of like someone ziplining right across the screen, and it's great. And it's all very sort of like comic book kind of drawn. It's almost cartoon, but it has a very graphic novel kind of drawn look to it. I think it's really cool. And the final image of the open is the Statue of Liberty, and they sort of pan around, and like half of the Statue of Liberty's face is like, you know, decaying and falling apart. And, you know, it's a really great image to use. You know, like she still stands, but she's broken. And it's just cool. I just want to make sure we talk about it. I didn't recognize if there were any changes from week 1 to week 2, and I hadn't seen anyone online talk about that. Not saying it's not there, but I only really paid attention to this week, so I don't know if it's something that's going to change slightly each week or if we're going to have the same one each week. But I think it's cool.
I think
it's a cool
it's since it's the same animation style as the main show. My guess is that it's going to be static, that it will, for this season, it'll look the same.
Yeah. And it's, I felt like the music, it's different than the main series, but there was just something about it that made me think of the music for the opener of the main series. There was some sort of, it evoked something like musically, and I can't really put my finger on it, but that's one of the great things about music is it, it feels different to different people. But for me, I knew it wasn't the same piece of music, but it just gave me a similar feeling than the other one. So I liked it. So yeah, that's what I gotta say about that. Any thoughts on that? The sort of title sequence?
Oh, I liked it. Like I said, I think it's kind of just showing like what happened to Manhattan. I don't think it's going to give us any insight into the story we're being told. I think it's just kind of saying, hey, here's Manhattan, and then it got overrun by ghouls, and then the military blew all the crap out of the bridges and the tunnels, and now it's, belongs to the dead. And it's just,
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's really cool. I think, the fear opening with just kind of the one image, I liked it when it actually would give you some kind of clues as to what was going to happen in the episode. But let's be honest, though, for the last season and a half, at least maybe 2 seasons, it didn't. It was just, it's just silhouette of John Dory. Must be a John Dory episode. That's all you got. So I much prefer this kind of opening sequence that kind of tells you a little story about what's going on and how did we get here and all that. So I was curious this week to see if it did change, because a lot of times for the pilot episode for shows, the title sequence is totally different than what will be for the rest of the show. And, and just in general for any TV show, you know what I mean? It's usually like the theme song and all that stuff isn't even in the pilot episode. It's just different. And then episode 2, that tends to be, this is the opening sequence that we will get from now on. But in this case, I believe it was the same one. So
yeah, and you're right. It's pilot or first episode or so is usually they're still in air quotes figuring it out mode.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but it feels like this is a little bit more buttoned up than other series, which is great. I like it, and it sets a good tone, which I think is great. Because these people aren't thrown together because they like each other. So, and there's danger, and the music and the images should evoke that. So I think that's important.
Right.
Let's see. Come back from the titles. I think they went right into them with the pigeon lady. Am I right?
Yeah.
Or
they did. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So we got the zip lining scene, which was good. But some of us are afraid of heights. I'm just saying, generally speaking, I'm speaking for the crowd, not me. I'm not afraid of heights.
No.
I am the specific kind of afraid of heights that literally, when it showed them looking over the edge or whatever, I had to look away. I know it's a TV show. I know it's not real. It gets me so anxious and scared, I have to look away. I can't.
So you have height trauma?
Sure.
Sure, because I have finger trauma. You have height trauma. Okay.
Yeah, I have height trauma. I mean, thankfully there was no finger trauma in this episode too, or else we both would have had problems.
Well, Negan did have his hand all cut up after he did his knock-knock joke, but that wasn't really fingers, that was more palm, so I was a little bit better with it. But yeah.
And it was glass, though, too.
Oh, my God.
Because everybody who's gotten a piece of glass in their foot, as soon as you see someone that's, like, pulling shards of glass out of anywhere, hand, finger, arm, whatever, you all like know what that feels like when you're like, okay, I have this piece of chunk of glass in my foot. Now I have to pull it out.
I have to dig it out somehow. What's that? A pencil? Give it to me.
Is it leaded? I don't know. It's from the 70s. It should be fine. Well, blood poisoning. Who cares? Yeah, so I love the ziplining, but I just had a hard time watching it because I have my own personal psychoses. But I liked it, but this whole Maggie thing with the like, I'm gonna do it myself, I don't need your help, when he's like trying to reach out for her and she's like, I've got it. And I'm like, okay, but if you didn't need his help, he wouldn't be here. So
Right.
She needs to so there's some moments in this where I'm like, she needs to let go of certain things. Like, nobody's saying you got to love him, and you can still hate him, but you can also still accept help from someone who wants to keep you from falling to your death. I mean, I think that's fair. I'm just saying.
I thought it was interesting that, I was almost expecting him to not try and help her.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, if she falls to her death, then I'm just leaving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Then I don't have to do this crazy errand.
Right. Yeah. But he didn't. He went right away to help her, and was right there going, hey, give me your hand. And I think it's also interesting that very obviously, Maggie has a huge fear of heights as well.
Yeah.
So, you two, that's something you have in common now with the widow. So well done.
I never thought I had anything in common with Maggie. She wasn't a character I ever gelled with before, but maybe this is it. This is the thing that brings us to the other side.
This is the beginning. You're going to become pen pals, I can tell.
Oh, absolutely. Any additional stuff you want to say about the ziplining? Because we both included it in our notes. I want to make sure we hit all of our points.
I just thought it was a real cool effect. Just how they did it. I like how they shot it. And I thought it was interesting that, you could tell Maggie was so freaked out by the height that she, like when Negan did it, he like jumped off to start to give himself some momentum. And he easily made it all the way onto the other building and could just, drop down to the roof. And she like very reluctantly kind of just stepped off the end, and that's why she ended up going short, because she didn't have enough momentum build up to get there. I just thought that was a real interesting way that they filmed it there, and it just accentuated that Maggie looked down bad. So
yeah. bad Maggie.
Bad.
Yes. And I think they might have pivoted away from this scene to do the first like introduction to Ginny moment when she's at that other group or whatever, which I'm still,
she's with Maggie's people, wherever that is.
Yeah, but her Maggie's people, I think, got absorbed by another group. Like, I think they're there. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't found that place. Like, that place was there and Maggie's people were taken in. That's the sense I got. Or did she say it was her location? Like, she's in charge.
She didn't really. She didn't.
Okay.
She just said that, basically all she said was that the Croat and his people like showed up to wherever they were.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell, the gate, the part of the brick wall had been destroyed, and they were like trying to fix it when Ginny is first there. The one guy is standing guard, and these other two people are literally, doing the brick and mortar thing and rebuilding the wall. And so the Croat came in and did the whole, we're taking half your stuff, and then took her son. Now, because he took her son, that tells me that Maggie's someone of importance there, but we never really know, is it her place that she found it after she abandoned the hilltop, or like you said, did she meet with another group and just become part of it? I don't know. They have not said. So
yeah, but either way, Maggie's people are there. That's for sure. And Ginny is being taken care of there in Negan's absence, which is how it was sort of set up in that first episode. So we see Ginny arriving there, or sort of being introduced to people. And I thought it was very interesting because I don't remember this being said in episode 1, but she's introduced as being from Oceanside.
Yep, she is.
And I was like, what now? So I didn't know what that was I didn't. Now, to be fair, I was a little distracted when I was watching because I was like, ugh, how is he with like a youngster? And it's, why is Annie not here? They still haven't addressed that. Where's Annie and the kid and whatever. And so I was a little distracted by whatever they were saying about her. So I don't recall if they said anything about that, like her, because I know they said something about her past, her family, and she witnessed her family be attacked, and she has trauma out of that, which is why she doesn't speak. But I don't remember if they said anything about where she was from. So to me, the Oceanside thing was a surprise. What do you think?
I took it. I did, yeah. And they last week they did not say she was from Oceanside.
Okay.
He said that she was with the settlement that he hooked up with after he was on the run from the Marshals, and then they ended up together. My gut feeling is that it's just a ruse from Maggie to just make it easier for her to integrate with the community.
That's a possibility, yeah.
Because if she says, well, this guy's helping me get my son back and he's a fugitive and she was with him and so we're taking care of her while that's too many questions, too many wait a minutes.
Too many if you just say, ifs, hey,
yeah. Whereas if she just says, she's from Oceanside. Oh, okay. And they probably told people probably told them about Oceanside, or if she established the community, then the people there know about Oceanside. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
It's I just think it was the easiest possible way to just avoid any follow-up questions. Yeah. So
now
that's what I took out of it.
On that same token, a scene that happens a little further down from this one, I didn't include it in my notes, but it's the same idea. Were you surprised when Negan introduced himself? I'm from a place called the Commonwealth. When he described, because I mean, I would assume he's living somewhere within the boundaries, but I don't know. I guess I wasn't expecting it to be said that way. I don't know.
Yeah. It didn't strike me. I mean, I didn't stand out in my head. It's like, well, that's weird because again, when the main show ended, he was still there.
Yeah, I guess so. And yes, Annie would have needed access to medical stuff because of being pregnant. So I get that part too. So I guess it's difficult because the way the book ended and Negan is sort of off by himself and
right.
And it certainly seemed like, you get support from being around groups of people, but I think all things being equal, the only thing Negan really cared about was being with Annie. I don't think he cared about being a part of a community or part of a group. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't his priority. It felt like she was the priority. So I think because I'm still trying to reconcile the end of the graphic novel with the end of the series, I was surprised to hear him identify as a member of a community. It felt weird to me. So maybe it's just a personal thing. But yeah.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, they totally did change the Negan ending from the comic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole Rick letting him go on the understanding that he's never seen again.
Yeah.
That kind of got thrown out the window. So it's different. So I could see where you're used to or that's the ending that you think of first. And so when he suddenly is identifying with, I'm with this group, and you're like, Negan, you're a loner. You're by here. You know what I mean? If you're not running everything, you're on your own. So I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Again, I don't want to belabor it, and I didn't include it in my notes. I thought about it afterward. I was watching for a second time last night, and I was like, I forgot that moment kind of hit me the first time around and was like, huh? But anyway.
I liked it that when she goes into the class, and the teacher's like, hey, everybody, let's have a warm welcome for Ginny. She's from Oceanside, and like 3 of the kids go.
Yeah, that felt very on brand.
It did. But then what I loved was that it's like school for kids. But what are they teaching him?
Foraging.
he says like, okay, which of these following plants is edible? And I'm like, that's really smart.
It is.
You're teaching your kids how to live, how to survive off the land and all that. I'm like, that's brilliant. They don't need to do math or arithmetic or anything all the time. They need to know like survival skills. And so I kind of thought that was a fun little side moment.
Yeah, I really appreciated that this far into the apocalypse, a big thing you need to learn is survival skills, and that's one of them. Yeah. So I thought that was a really nice touch. I noticed that too. So Maggie and Negan are with this pigeon lady who leads them along a little further to this group, and
the native New Yorkers.
Native New Yorkers. I loved it. And I was like, are they carrying like air nailers, like pneumatic, like like battery powered pneumatic guns for like nailing, like a construction nailer is what it looked like. And I'm like, that's very interesting. And then when it was deployed, that was pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, they were badass. Yeah, but they you could tell that they weren't just firing like nails, because they had the lines attached to them, and the one gal, when she zaps that one dude and then she pulls it back and it rips a big chunk of his shoulder off. It was really fun. But yeah, I think that's a clever idea, because we're 10 plus years into the apocalypse and there is no more ammunition. And if it is, it's all gone bad, so you got to adapt and you have to find something else. And if you notice, the Croat, all of his people, they carry like big slabs of metal, like spears almost, you know what I mean? And it's like they're not armed. It's not like Fear, where everybody's walking around with a M16 or an AR-14 or something with unlimited ammunition strapped around them. I mean, these people are much more scavenging. I still, practical, making use of what they have, available. I still think the clothes are way too new.
Yes, I agree.
For this, that just rings false to me, but I get it. It's hard to convince actors, whoa, we're going to give you, skins to wear for this. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So,
and my thing is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I agree with you. I thought that the whatever you want to call them, the nailers or the pneumatic guns, were badass. So
yeah, agreed. And like you were saying, I think it's great whenever you see a weapon that is thinking outside the box, like using what you have and thinking outside the box and making it work for you. Because I mean, I've used, exactly that tool before. A battery powered pneumatic nail gun is pretty cool to use, but you have to modify it a little bit to do what they wanted to do. And the idea of that little like a little harpoon is great, because the little harpoon, it gives you distance for goals. And I appreciate anytime you can come up with a weapon that is effective that gives you distance from the dead, because the whole point is to try and minimize your risk while you are dealing with the dead. So very cool. Kudos.
Plus, the harpoon has a line on it, so you can pull it back whether it hits something or not. So so it's reusable. So again, I thought that was really clever. I hope we can see a little bit more of those and learn a little bit more about what they really are and how they made them and all that. That would be cool.
Yeah. And of course, I just thought, in my brain, I put a note in there and I was like, they make a big deal about talking about how they closed off the bridges and the tunnels. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, they're a big Home Depot on Manhattan. I mean, maybe some, they raided some construction zone or something like that. I was just like, they look really good. They're in really good shape, those nailers. So maybe it's a newer weapon they found that they've only been using fairly recently or something like that. I don't know, but I'm always like hesitant to enjoy something 100% if I'm like, those look really clean, and like you literally just opened up a box and said, look what I found. But hey, still a very, very, very cool weapon to use. Let's everything else that's important really is Negan and Maggie and their interaction with these new people, these this gang that works for the Croats and all this other stuff. So before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the little side story for the Ranger and sort of get that out of the way. I didn't like it. I just felt like I don't know who this guy. Here's the thing. If they're thinking of doing a second season, or if they're able to, this guy better be in it, because devoting time to where he's from, what his backstory is, it's, it's kind of, Manhattan is really big. The fact that he's able to find that apartment right off there's a lot of stuff that made me like, is a little too neat, even though clearly he gets in there and, it's tragedy all around. But I don't know. I didn't love it, because we're meant to feel one way about these guys. And then immediately after that first episode, they give us this like sad sack backstory. And I'm like, oh, but what is going on here? So what did you think? What did you think of this whole like plot twist or plot?
I'm kind of with you. The Ranger Rick and the Ginny stuff. I'm like, why are we wasting time on any of this? I mean, Ginny obviously is going to show up in New York somehow, but it's like, why? You know what I mean? Can't we just tell a good story with Negan and Maggie? Why? What? I don't know. I agree that when they first introduced the Ranger in the first episode, he was very cartoony. And, I didn't want to do that to him. I had to because it was the law and, all that crap that he did. And then now suddenly he's, his brother and his brother died. And, isn't it sad and all that. And I was struck first off with what you just said, which is, okay, how did he find where the dude lives? I mean, I guess we have to assume he's been there before, but Manhattan Island is huge, and he's on foot and he's unarmed, and we've seen there are thousands and thousands of ghouls roaming around, yet he's able to make it to the dude's street in his house without a problem. And then the other problem I had is, when did that guy shoot himself? Because he looked pretty fresh.
Yeah, I was gonna say that he definitely looked fresh.
And I'm kind of like, okay, so, and they kind of, I guess they're trying to tell you, because when he comes in, he looks in the kitchen and there's just all of those empty cans on the kitchen, like next to the sink and stuff, and on the table, and you get the sense that, okay, well, the guy was, ate all the food he could find, so he didn't necessarily die on day one of the outbreak. But, how long has it been? And then when you see it, the blood is still on the wall, right? And he isn't really decayed much at all. So that tells you that, it's been relatively soon. But when the marshal walked in there, why didn't he immediately know his brother was dead because of the smell?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'd think he'd be like, oh God, right? But he doesn't even notice the dead brother until he looks in the refrigerator's reflection and sees him in the one room in the back. You know what I mean? So it's a weird sequence, and I don't care about this character at all. So I'm not sure, like you, why are we wasting time on this? And this episode was short to begin with. I mean, this episode's 38 minutes long, and it's like that story took about 8 or 10 minutes of that 38 minutes. So almost a third of the episode was on that. And I'm like, I don't care. So
I thought the funniest thing, though, I actually giggled a little bit when he was trying to get into the apartment and he literally broke through the door like he was the guy from, like he was the Kool-Aid dude, like coming through with, you know, I'm the Kool-Aid man, you know, you get your thirst quenched. Oh yeah. Like that's what I was expecting. Cause it was like the door in like right in the middle was like made out of paper. He like knocked on it like 2 or 3 times and then went through and I was like, that doesn't feel like an apartment door in New York City, but you know, we'll give him that. But I laughed when I saw that. I was like, that is a thin door or a very strong man.
Yeah. Well, and even that, the way he did that, I'm like, really? Is that a smart idea to be making all that noise? You know, and in this where you are with where you know that there's all of the ghouls around, and you're gonna be, you know, literally destroying this door, making a ton of noise. You know, it's like you would think that guy would know better. Again, 10-year into the apocalypse survivor, you know, you don't make noise if you don't have to. When you're in strange places where you don't know what the population of the ghouls are. And ultimately it came back to bite him, no pun intended, because they were trying to get in and he had to go out through the fire escape, right? So that. But again, overall, like that scene and the scene with Ginny, I'm just like, skip it. Cut all that. Let's get back to Maggie and Negan.
Get to the important stuff. Yeah, I agree. So back to them. I loved the moment when he got the guy by the neck and he was like, because I got this pigeon bone and it's really dying to just like
I've been sharpening it all day.
Yeah. Just like the way he says it. He was like, I've been doing this all day. I've got a weapon now and I really want to use it. It was just really well done. And it was very, very Negan, that moment.
Oh yeah, no, this was definitely. I'm sure JDM had a ball shooting this episode because he got to do all the cool stuff. You know, he got to. Yeah. We definitely got a glimpse of you know, old school Negan in this episode. There's no doubt. So.
Yeah, because not long after that moment, they are being attacked by these what are they called?
Bugazzi or whatever they call it.
Yeah. They said at the end of the episode that it's a Croatian word for brothers, Bugazzi or whatever. And at first they all kind of run away, and then Negan's like, "I'll go take care of this." He comes back down because they fought one of the dudes. One of them followed them all the way to where they were, and Negan took him as
the pigeon lady.
Yeah, because he killed the pigeon lady. Oh. Sad. And he brings him down to where the rest of the dudes are. And the Bugazzi, there was some, I couldn't tell because of the helmets if there was women there. My bad. And he does the, you know, obviously everyone knows he does the knock knock scene. And there's like opinions one way or the other. And I personally didn't like it, but but it's mostly not because the scene didn't work. I mean, it's for what it was supposed to be. It works because it's Negan being Negan, you know, and then the regret thing at the end and all that other stuff. And I get that, but it didn't work for me only because it's all going to come down to, at the end, it's going to come down to Maggie forgiving Negan for something. You know what I mean? Like Maggie coming around to Negan or something like that. I just am like, ugh, all these moments where he's a badass. It's like, you brought him along because he is who he is. And him being mad at her for being mad at him, I'm like, she has every right to be mad at you. You killed her husband. It's like that structure. And this is what I was afraid of when they announced the show was happening. I was like, so you're telling me we'll have a full season of these two people? I have every right to be mad at you. Like, you've done worse things than me, or da-da-da, like going back and forth. And I don't know. It hit me the wrong way. So I don't know. What did you think of the scene? Did you like it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I acknowledge your concern, but I think it's foolish. No, no, I did. I really liked it. I like what they're trying to do, but I agree with you that if it's going to be like this every episode, it's going to get old.
Right. Agreed. Yeah.
But I like that. Negan, as we have seen him on the main show for the last 5 seasons, has been trying to change his stripes, right? He's trying. At least we get the. I guess that's the question. Was it all a con, or was he sincere? And I think I at least believed he was really being sincere and trying to change and not be that guy anymore.
Right.
And even though he said in the main show, right, what was his biggest regret? His biggest regret is not killing Glenn. It's not killing Abraham. His biggest regret is not killing all of them right away when he had the chance, right? Right. That's what it feels the most regret about, that otherwise he'd still be in charge, But he's trying not to be that guy, and yet the only way that he can survive is to be that guy. Right. And I really got a kick out of it because, first of all, knock-knock jokes are straight out of the comic books. Right. And that's great. So I love that little nod to the comic Negan, which, let's be honest, the comic Negan and the JDM Negan are not the same guy. I mean, there's definitely some differences. But I love that little nod. And when you take the knock-knock scene in perspective with the scene before that, when Negan is telling the story of the Croat and how the Croat was this rabid dog and he tortured the scout from the kingdom and, did something so horrible to this, young kid, I believe it was a girl, that's what convinced Negan he had to put the Croat down. So something was so awful that Negan back then was like, oh my God, you have to go. Right. And so he's telling this story, and you're getting the sense of like, oh, look at him. He's hand wringing, and he had one chance and he missed. And, now the Croat's out to kill him. And he knew, that he was bad and all this. And Maggie is not buying any of it. Right. She's firmly in the customer service line. And she said, what does she say? It takes a monster to make a monster and all that stuff. And then he is fighting so hard to say, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. And then he goes out and does the knock-knock joke. And when he turns around and she's looking at him and he just knows, oh, crap, I'm that guy. You know what I mean? So I like that scene. I like that whole sequence. I liked how they set it up. And it worked. And again, like I said, it worked now for this episode right here. But if next week we get another thing like that, and then the week after that we get another thing like that, then I think it's going to get a little tired and a little old. And it's like, you guys got to find something else to do. But for right now, I love this episode. It's clear that JDM has all the fun stuff to do, and Lauren Cohen gets to look mean and kind of shoot him ugly looks all the time. That's kind of what the dynamic is right now. So.
Yeah, I want two things I want to happen. I want to make sure that them being at each other's throats, emotionally and mentally or whatever, isn't the biggest thing about this season. Because we've, like you said, we've covered this before. And I'm not saying it can't be an aspect, because it's an important part of why their dynamic is the way it is. But like I was saying, and you agreed, it's just like it can be too much after a bit. So I want to see some different colors, some different flavors next time around. So hopefully that will happen. I also want to be sure, because we saw this happening on the main series, that the tendency to try and take this charismatic, physically attractive dude and try and not make him the victim. I think they've done a good job of not doing that, like not going that far.
Right.
But they've been doing all of this stuff to like show, the line about, you've killed husbands and wives and fathers and of children and stuff, trying to equate what he did to what Maggie has had to do. And, and I know where he's going with that. Like, he's not looking for forgiveness. He's looking for understanding, I think. I don't want the show to gloss over or try and do like revisionist history. I don't want this to turn into the end scene being Maggie saying, "I'm so sorry I hated you for all these years, and you really are a great guy." And I'm like, they cannot go there. It's awful.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to, there's a certain segment of the internet that's like, "Ooh, they need to get together." And I'm like, "Oh, no."
They do. I've seen that group that's like, "Oh yeah, they're totally gonna do it." This is like, what?
No, no. So I'm cautious about it. I'm not gonna say that. Here's the thing, that Negan being Negan is very mesmerizing to watch. And as soon as you're done watching it, you feel a little dirty for enjoying it. And I just, they've been playing that sort of note for a while now. And I'm like, I want to watch a show to watch a show. Don't make me feel dirty. There are aspects of Negan I really like. And if you want somebody to do something, like, he shocked the shit out of those Barazzi guys, right? With what he did.
Oh, yeah.
They've never seen anyone do something like that before. And that's what Negan brings to the table. But I'm like, just anyway. So I don't want to belabor that point too much, but anyway, it was a good scene, but I'm trying to be cautious about how Negan is being positioned. And we had this problem with the end of the main series too, that they were starting to teeter towards like, I'm not that bad. Or like, well, you are, but the show is trying to say that you're not, and it's difficult. So I'm trying to be cautious about them going in that area too. I really hope they don't go there, because he did some shitty stuff, and has Maggie done shitty stuff? Sure. But anyway, killed that one to death.
Yeah. Well, we just got to see what, like you said, where are they going to go with it, and how much of a redemption story is this going to be, or is it just going to be Negan's going to do what he needs to do to get the kid back, and then assuming they're both still alive, he's going to go his way and she's going to go hers. I mean,
in theory,
you would think that would be the only resolution that Maggie. I mean, Maggie would be quite happy if, they get Herschel back and Negan doesn't make it. But assuming that Negan does make it, if they get the kid back, she will let him go. I don't think she's gonna, now that your usefulness is over, and then she blows him away. I just don't see that. But,
no. She's a woman. She's a woman of her word. I don't think that she would go back on that for sure. Because she's the, and she would also want to prove, like, I'm the better person.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not the monster.
Yeah. I mean, could something happen to Negan while they're there? Sure. Like, neither one of these guys is safe. I mean, I don't think.
No.
But I don't think if they succeed and they both get to leave, like you're saying, I think Maggie will stay true to her promise, and she'll let him go.
How about that for an ending? Maggie gets killed, and so Negan has to raise Herschel.
Oh my God. Yeah. Awful. All right, so let's just talk really quick. We got to see the Croat really quickly. I mean, we saw him in episode 1 too, when he was sort of torturing Herschel there, but we see his we thought it was just a grouping of his little gang there, the Barazzi, but it turns out it was him. with some of his gang members. And I don't know why, but when they come on the screen, I just have like Daft Punk songs playing in my head sort of over and over. Because, you know, helmets. And I feel like the helmets were interesting, but it felt very kind of like Fear the Walking Dead, like, wouldn't it be cool if?
Yeah.
And they tried this thing out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too, that this definitely has a little of the wouldn't it be cool list, because I just don't see the functionality of it. Why would you be like, let me just say, I'm all for armoring your face in this universe. Okay, absolutely, that makes a ton of sense to me, to be wearing a helmet with a face, you know, shield and all that stuff. I get it, I do.
Absolutely.
But then to be like, you know what would be cool? What if we were to like put like saw blades and knives and stuff on our helmets, and then we could headbutt ghouls? I'm just like, why? Why would you ever think that's a good idea to put your head up against a ghoul? What if you get stuck and you don't kill it, and its mouth is now pressed right up against your face? You know, I don't know. It seems to be very impractical and illogical.
Agreed. To me, the thing I thought was, I mean, as a last moment of defense, like, I've dropped my weapon, you have one final weapon that you can use if you're in like a hand-to-hand combat moment. But for that to be your only weapon, and it didn't look like, I didn't see them with anything else in their hands. I don't remember.
Me neither.
Yeah.
No, me
so
neither.
It, like you said about the impractical part of it, it's like, well, first of all, you have to do it like 3 times, because you have to do that in order to get the head to a mushy enough state that you've impaled the brain, because the most efficient thing is to simply just impale the brain, which isn't happening here. So yeah, it just felt, again, like I hope we don't see more of like the ain't it cool, because they haven't done really any of it yet. And I'm like, okay, you get a few where you're like, you know, and the main series has done a couple of things here and there too. Fear the Walking Dead makes a whole, you know, they have a person assigned just directly to do that. So, you know, are they allowed in this series to do it a couple of times? Absolutely. You know, and like you said, if it's in a case where, like, you know, we approve of the helmet, that's a smart idea. The saw blades on it, I don't know. Because what happens when you go to take one of those helmets off, you put your hands on there to pull it off. What if you just reach incorrectly and you're like, oh man, I cut my hand again? I'm so stupid.
I cut my hand, and on top of it, you know, it's got ghoul blood on it. So now you've got ghoul blood in your blood. Does that mean you get it? Yeah, it's just, there's nothing wrong with having stuff on the ain't it cool list and putting it in the show, as long as it makes sense, as long as it's logical, and you're like, okay, yeah, I could see that actually being a thing. But when I saw those guys do that, I'm like, there's no way that if you know, when the Croat's like, okay, here's your uniform, and then you'd be like, do I get like a knife or a stick or something? No. You get this helmet that you got to headbutt people with. And I'm like, so I got to headbutt someone? What if I get a concussion? Doesn't matter. That's your weapon. You know, I mean, it's just, I just don't see that at all being a thing. Anyone would be like, yeah, sign me up, man.
No long sticks or staffs to keep you away from the danger. You need to step into the danger. And
that's right.
And I agree with you. Yes, shows, it's perfectly fine to have things that you're like, wow, that was pretty cool. Case in point, if they don't use the ziplining thing for the rest of the series, because there's only 4 more episodes left for this first season, if they don't use the ziplining again at all, I am okay with that. We saw it once, and it was very surprising. Then we had a really pivotal scene where they used it again, and it makes sense within the world that they've created for that to be a mode of transport from building to building. It makes absolute sense. You know, and it is also super freaking cool at the same time.
Right.
But it makes sense within the context of the show. So they could not do it again, and I think I would be perfectly fine with it. They established it, they used it, they're done.
Yeah.
But the helmets.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, they just make me sit here and go, sing Daft Punk songs. Like I said, they're up all night to get lucky. Helmet songs, yeah. I've kind of gotten to the end of my points. Are there any points of yours that we kind of jumped over? I want to make sure we hit before we take a break.
Just going back to the Ranger Rick story, which I didn't really like, but there was a couple moments that I thought worth mentioning. One, when he's walking down the street, I think going to his brother's house, I thought it was a really nice touch, and I didn't pick up on it until the second time I watched it. But he's walking down the street, and littering the sidewalk on the street are all of these window air conditioners.
Yeah, I like that too.
I thought that was such a cool thing to be like, yeah, okay, they were all in the windows, and then in the 10 years since the world ended, the integrity of the buildings has gone bad, and the windows, the glass is broken, and the frames have broken, and eventually these air conditioners all fell out. So I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a nice little design thing.
Yeah, very cool. I was going to say, I'm sure some fell out, and maybe others might have been pushed to try and take out some,
take out a walker
right in front of your building or something like that. So, but either way, it had a very New York sort of flavor to it, to have all of those window units, considering how many windows there are directly above them. So I just very cool.
Then the other thing that when he finally gets out of his brother's house, he takes the fire escape down, and then he gets stuck in a trap.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like one of the traps that Negan warned Maggie about in the first episode. And it was cool to see, but my question is wouldn't the ghouls be tripping that every day?
Yeah, you'd have to go and check on it all the time.
Yeah, and just be constantly resetting it because another ghoul fell in the trap again. Again, kind of straying into the ain't it cool list a little, maybe. That the Croat and his people have set these traps, and why are they? Who are they thinking they're going to catch that isn't dead already, and so on. So I'm not quite sure about that yet, and like I said, I think it's a strong nomination for the ain't it cool list, but I don't know yet. We got to know a little bit more about what the Croat's doing, to explain why would he have the traps set up. And they might just be a thing that they thought, let's put some traps up. But that struck me as just a little weird. That's wouldn't the ghouls be constantly setting him off? But I did love it when the Croat comes at the end and they cut the net down, and the Ranger's there, and the Croat looks at him and he goes, "Don't worry, you're safe now." I just thought that was a cool line because, again, we love that actor, so he was having fun with it, and I like it too that he takes the helmet off, and you can see the one ear that Negan blew off.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of because I did not notice that last week when we saw him.
With Herschel
at the end of the first episode. Yeah, I did not notice he was missing an ear, and it wasn't until Negan mentioned it I'm like, huh, was he missing an ear? So yeah. What else? Then they do go back and we see Ginny running away from the thing, and I don't care, and whatever. It is what it is. But,
yes. Do not.
Again, it's just the Ranger storyline and the Ginny storyline is waste to me. I don't think this show is only 6 episodes long. You don't need to have multiple B plots and C plots going on.
Right.
I don't think. I think that the two leads are strong enough to carry a 42-minute show all by themselves without too much help.
Right.
So yeah, but we'll see where that goes. And I think based on the scenes for next week, it looks like she's gonna, somehow find her way onto the island. So
yeah, well, you kind of knew that was gonna happen as soon as they separated. I was like, oh, we're gonna see her again.
Yeah, they wouldn't have introduced her without, it's Pavlov's girl.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
They bring her back in the third act. There was one cool Negan line that I wrote down when he's explaining to Maggie about the Croat and all that, and she says, it takes a monster to build a monster, and he goes, no. And he goes, you see, I was only a monster when I absolutely had to be, when I had to put on a show to protect my people. And again, Maggie doesn't believe it. But it's interesting. I like the fact that Negan's going out of his way to say, I'm not a monster. I'm not this horrible, horrible person. And then 10 minutes later, he is that horrible, horrible person. And what's worse is that he was enjoying being that horrible, horrible person. So,
yeah.
So again, but we'll have to see what they do with it. If it, like you said, if it's every week, it's going to get old. But I really like that. I like that setup, and I like the payoff with the knock joke and all that. And just the whole Gallagher, people in the front row get wet moment was great. And then if you notice, he slices his throat, and then he cuts open his belly, and the dude's intestines spill out on those poor people. So Negan's going full, body cavity on everybody. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
very good. Very.
That's pretty much everything I have. Just again, it's a short episode. It was only 38.
Yeah.
Just a tick under 39 minutes long, and that's not normally they go into the mid to high 40s for an episode. Yeah. So this one was pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even notice that it was that short until you put it into the meeting, the notes for today. So there you go. So short episode, people. Hopefully they'll make up for it later.
The only reason that I did that was that on AMC Plus, the total length of the episode is like 43 minutes, but there's the little featurette at the end.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, and there are scenes for next week and the credits and all that stuff. And so when I saw that and I saw how long it was, I'm like 43 minutes and there's a bonus feature. I'm like, how long is this episode? And so the second time when it cuts to black before we see the scenes for next week or anything else, it literally was like 38 minutes and like 46 or 47 seconds, And so I was like, damn, that's fast.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully it's not that fast next week. Stop skimping on us, AMC. We want our full 43 minutes.
That's right. Yeah. With the writer's strike, this is all we're going to get for a while.
Yeah, I know. Luxuriate, people. Luxuriate in the shows that you have. So speaking of luxuriate, we're going to luxuriate and go ahead and take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to go ahead and talk about what's coming up next on the podcast, along with some of our listener feedback. So, that's coming up next.
So stick around. We'll be right back.
The following is an emergency action message. Civil authorities have identified a biological threat that they deem credible. This threat could potentially affect the entire continental United States.
The dead are returning to life and attacking the living.
911, what's your emergency?
There's a man on bat and he's attacking another man. Looks like he's biting him, like on the arm.
The initial signs are puzzling, unclear.
Getting pulled out of their cars and thrown to the ground. It looks like the bus passengers are biting their victims.
Soon, however, the reality is clear and undeniable.
The crisis involving the recently dead continues. Parliament today passed a law that requires all bodies of the recently deceased to be registered and turned...
Toxic Bag Productions has captured the sounds of the zombie apocalypse and brought them to your gaming table. Background ambiences, zombie attacks, and radio transmissions that set the scene for your modern zombie adventure. Download MP3s from drivethrurpg.com or toxicbag.com.
Hey there, this is Greg Nicotero, and you're listening to Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And don't forget to always aim for the head, because body shots, they really just don't work.
Hey everybody, we are back. First off, we're gonna just jump into our mountains of feedback that we got this week.
No, it's so great.
It just keeps growing. I love it. I don't know. Keep it coming, people. I love it. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Steve, why don't you start us off this week?
All right. Well, our first piece of feedback comes from the International Desk, and it's from, of course, our pal Andy from Germany. Hello, Andy.
Hello, Andy.
And he sent this via the email, and he says, "Hello, Diana and Steve. So that's it for Morgan Jones." And this, by the way, is for last week's episode. So this would be the Fear 8.6 and then the premiere of Dead City. So episode 1 of Dead City. So there you go. So that's it for Morgan Jones, at least at Fear. The fact that Morgan constantly switches back and forth between the extremes of Zen Master, and I'm using air quotes, and serial killer, again using air quotes, was already his most annoying characteristic in the main series. Instead of giving us that again when he leaves, they should have done a sappy episode about how he finally finds peace. Dwight and Sherry also deserved a happy ending. There was one for Eugene and Max in the main series, so why not? Think about it. This is their 4th breakup. The first because of Negan, the second because of Sherry, the third because of Padre, and the 4th now because of Finch's death. That's true. I wonder how the kids overpowered Daniel and his people when they are not capable of shooting them. Not that a group of kids without any combat experience led by Shrike's little brother would have a realistic chance against a paramilitary group of survivors led by Daniel.
He makes a fair point.
he does. The only thing I would say is that I kind of got the impression that Daniel's people weren't going to kill any of the kids because that was their whole thing. They wanted to get their kids back.
That's true. That's true.
So maybe that's how they turned the tables on them, and that the kids knew that, hey, you're not going to shoot us, so we can, do whatever we want. I don't know. But anyway, it is a funny point, man. I like it. Yes. He goes, again, I found your criticism about the knife in the chest a bit nitpicky. Alpha rammed a combat knife up to the hilt into Daryl's thigh. That makes Moe's knife look like a toothpick. He afterwards wrapped a strip of cloth around and was fine again. That's The Walking Dead. You're absolutely 100% correct. But I believe if you were to go back and listen to our review of that episode, we harped on that like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think if anything, Andy, we're just being consistent.
Yes.
You know what, this show is famous for, what's that, a knife wound or a bullet wound to the shoulder or something. You're fine. You're fine. So.
Yeah, it was in the non-lethal zone of the shoulder.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Generally speaking, Morgan should be fine in the
Exactly.
Walking Dead universe.
Well, you saw he had his arm in a sling, so he's fine.
Yeah.
So then Andy goes on to say, so much for Fear. About Dead City, I'll write later. I haven't finished your podcast yet. Greetings from Germany, Andy. And then he goes, P.S. Because of the names of the episodes, you have made me suspicious now. All I see is red. If the next episodes are called, like, I Can't Stand It Anymore or Does It Ever End, I'm going to start to think there's something to it. That's so funny. I wish there was an episode. I wish there was an episode called I Can't Stand It Anymore, because I think that's where we all were. He then obviously did finish, and watch Dead City because he wrote us again a second email. Oh. And he goes, hello, Diana. Hello, Steve. I completely forgot to give you my thoughts on the ending of the last episode of Fear. I think the mysterious person is Alicia. Because of the radiation and the zombie virus, she mutated and grew a new arm. I love it. Then he goes, Madison's lungs also grew back, so it's the most plausible option. Oh, that is very funny,
Listen,
Andy.
Alicia's arm growing back is no more ridiculous than, that being like, there's rumors that that's Troy coming back for Madison, who clearly killed him in season 3.
Like you said, she caved his head in with like a hammer.
Yeah. So
right? Didn't she?
Yeah. So like a regenerating arm is is just as ridiculous as anything else that could be. So I'm with you, Andy. Let's say it's Alicia. I think it's Alicia.
You know what? Hey, I am all for it. Anytime my future Australian ex-wife is on screen, I'm happy. So please make it Alicia.
There you go.
So he goes on to say, seeing Dead City makes Fear appear even more crappy. Sigh. As for whether Dead City is not only well made but also interesting, I am also not sure yet. What I would really be interested in is learning more about the world of The Walking Dead. How did it go on with Alexandria, the Commonwealth, the CRM, and what else is out there? The family issues of Negan and Maggie. Will Maggie agree to become Negan's second wife? And will Herschel finally call him Daddy? These questions don't really move me. Greetings from Germany, Andy. And then he finishes by saying, P.S. Your pronunciation of Scheisse is really good. And he has the emoji with the sunglasses. So thank you very much, Andy. We practice our Scheisse on a daily basis here.
Yes.
And very funny email. Some really good points mixed in there as well. So it's amazing. Keep it up, man. Hopefully you will watch all of Dead City, and you'll let us know what you think of it. Like I said, we're still trying to see what it's all about, but so far it is certainly more entertaining than Fear, without a doubt.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear from you, Andy, too, because I was wondering last week if we would hear from you at all, because I've seen some talk online with people having difficulty getting Dead City, like maybe it's not being covered by the same stations in Europe that normally cover the regular Walking Dead series. So I heard some rumblings about that. So I'm glad to see that you have no problem seeing the episode. So looking forward to more feedback from you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So next up, the rest of our emails and feedback are all about this week's Dead City episode number 2. And yes. So first up, we have a return email from the sweet as pie, Julie Nolan. Oh, Julie, we're so excited to read this off. So she writes in and says, hi, Diana and Steve. This is one of your biggest fans, Jersey Julie, and her little brown Shih Tzu, Madison Penelope. So great to hear your voices. It is a comfort to help me during the sad end of Fear the Walking Dead. Can't believe how off the rails this show has gone, LOL.
See what she did there?
Yep, off the rails. Well done.
Rails with the
train, with the choo-choo. But as a diehard, all things zombie fan, I will stay till the bitter end, not better end. I see what you did there. Now I'm listening to your first review of Dead City. I'm glad Diana mentioned the falling zombies, the trigger of 9/11. I feel exactly the same way. Born and raised in Jersey City, New York City is our neighbor, and I can never forget that day. And the unreal image of people jumping was kind of shocking they did that. Wow, I hope this show gets better. It was kind of all over the place. And I was confused with Maggie. It seems she and Negan were in a better place at the end of their last storyline, right? It was overkill with Maggie. Either you hate him or you like him. You're asking for his help to rescue your son yet again. Still hopeful it will get better. I will hang in there. And the very best part is my favorite podcasters are back. Missed you guys. Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm getting misty.
I know. Your cold dead heart is actually thumping a little.
It's thawing a little.
It is. From now, may I suggest a new gem of a series for you to review? She goes on to say the series From on AMC Plus, MGM, first season free on AMC Plus. I think it's through Prime, actually. So maybe you watch AMC through Prime. I had no idea. I saw it on Prime. That's where I'm watching it. The show is off the charts and maybe the next The Walking Dead. I have not looked forward to watching a series more. Madison Penelope will be listening to your wonderful show and here for all things zombie. Your zombie fans, Jersey Julie and Madison Penelope. Woof woof.
Woof. That's awesome.
And great idea, Julie, about From. I have watched the first few episodes. I haven't had time to get back to it yet. I know that the season 2 finale just happened on, I think, Sunday as well. So I'm trying to wait for that to sort of die down a little I'm ignoring everything before I jump back in to finish off season 1. And then I don't know, I might purchase a way to watch season 2 so that I'm kind of up to date. It's really interesting. It's a really great show. So I'm enjoying it so far. I think you would like it too, Steve. So, I mean, at least that first season. I mean, if it's on Prime, go for it.
We're gonna have to find something to review in about 5-6 months when there's no TV. So maybe this will be one of them. So
maybe we'll do it. Yeah, and it's definitely worth it. Lots of mysterious stuff. It's got a real kind of Lost vibe to it too, supernaturally stuff happening. But there's definitely some horror going on too. It's very cool.
Do I have to watch the first show too before I can watch From?
You don't. It doesn't exist, so you're fine. So thanks for writing in, Jersey Julie. You're the best, and thank you so much. You're adorable, and thank you for listening with Madison Penelope. Woof woof.
Yes, absolutely. Woof and woof. All right, so moving along, we got an email from our P1 listener, Mr. Alex Baelish. And hello, Alex. And he goes, Diana and Steve. Well, this was a roller coaster of an episode this week. I think this show is great so far. And he put the little heart emoji. He goes, first, I need to go back and watch it again. But how did the marshal survive? I mean, since he is a marshal, he could have some fear juice in him that makes him never die or something. And then he has the crazy emoji. I did love that they showed a little backstory for him. As for Negan and Maggie, they are so, and he has the heart emoji, so they are so...
In love? Cute? I don't know. What were you looking for there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Alex, what you're trying to say there. He goes, okay, I do have one thing that is bothering me with Maggie. I realize she will never forgive him, but her face when Negan was being Negan with the helmet crew was horrified. She has done things like that before. Maybe not as funny as he is. And that was, and he has the crying emoji and the laughing emoji. But I hope she cannot judge his every move. She asked him, right? Maybe I'm missing something, which I probably am. P.S. How can you not love how they go across buildings? And he goes, P.P.S. or is it PTSD? My feedback for Fear. Yay, no fear. It was the best written episode of the season. Yeah, my favorite part of Fear was the end, when it actually ended. That was it.
Yeah. 6 more, and we'll be able to really stick a fork in it. Oh man. Thanks so much for writing in, Alex, as always.
Yeah, and Alex, you're not wrong, man. You know, you're right. Maggie has done just as many grandstandy things as Negan does, just maybe not with as much showmanship, but she's certainly, you know, like you said, like Diana, you just pointed out, you know, when he asked her, how many husbands and sons have you killed?
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
know, the answer's a lot. So
yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks for writing in, Alex, as always. Hope you keep it up. We love hearing from you. Next up, we got some feedback via the Facebook from our listener, Alma Contreras. Hey, Alma. And Alma says, I don't know about anyone else, but I enjoyed seeing Negan up to his douchey ways. LOL. He needed to put a little fear into those fools. And Maggie knows she needs him to be the big bad she can be if she's going to save Herschel. Great episode. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Alma, for writing in. Yeah, I mean, Negan's gonna Negan. No matter what.
Yeah. Well,
whether you love him, you hate him, he's gonna be Negan.
Yeah. Well, it's like Alex just said, you know, she's got the horrified, oh my God, I can't believe he just did that look on her face. But it's like, girl, you asked him to help you and do what he does. So when you do that, you can't then be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's acting this. You know what I mean? So I agree with you, Bev, you know, that he's being him because that's the only way that they're going to get through this. So yeah. I agree. Great episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alma. All right, moving along.
Yep.
We go back on the international desk, and we're in warm but overcast Devon, England, for our fan Bev 2. Hello, Bev.
Hey, Bev.
How are you? And this came via the email. And she says, "Hi, guys. Well, I'm a little underwhelmed by the second episode. For a show with not many episodes included in the series, it seemed to waste time and not tell us much. Considering that most of this episode was spent with this new group, we didn't learn much about them or why the Croat had it in for them." That's true. We did not. There were parts of this I really enjoyed. The zip lines are very entertaining, and Negan's warning bathed in blood to the Croat's lackeys was fun. However, it was obvious that although Maggie knows this brutal warning could help, it brought back memories of being on the receiving end of such a threat. Agreed. I'm also left wondering if this Croat's plan for Herschel is to gain information and then convert him to become one of his soldiers. They did point to turmoil between the Ree family. Maybe this is a hint of something to come. That's my thoughts for today. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Bev. And again, she says warm but overcast Devon. So
interesting thoughts.
That's interesting. Yeah. They did, we kind of glossed over. There is a flashback scene with Maggie and Herschel. And yes. I kind of, at the time, I kind of just dismissed it as, Herschel is just, angsty teen and, hates everything. Yeah. And so when she tries to compliment him on his drawing, he's like, "It sucks. You don't, I'm going to Jack's house," or whatever. It's like, hey, kids still go to their friend's house, and even in the apocalypse, right? Yeah. But it's an interesting point that she brings up that, maybe they're showing us that so that when the Croat starts his, conversion plan, there's an opening there because Herschel's in a bad headspace when it comes to his mom. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Interesting idea.
Very, very
Thanks a lot for writing in, Bev.
Yeah. Always love hearing from you, Bev. Thank you so much. Next up, we got an email from our pal, Lisa Dupre. Hello, Lisa, my friend.
Hello, Lisa.
And Lisa starts off by saying, "Hello." Well, hello.
Hello.
Okay. She says, "Okay, before I jump into thoughts about episode 2, I'm feeling the need to defend the show regarding a couple of points you guys brought up last week. The first one is about the fact that the Marshals are so well equipped this far into the apocalypse. When I watched that scene in the bar, I saw something a little different than you guys. I saw people who were in ragged clothes, holes in the bartender's gloves, and so forth, drinking moonshine out of dirty jam jars. And then the Marshals roll up in fairly clean, well-maintained gear. What that said to me immediately is New Babylon is fascist. Even before I found out they'd outlawed booze, it seemed pretty clear to me that the deal you make in that society is trading protection for living well, although they aren't all that well equipped if you don't get a gun until you've been with them a few months. I'm also going to defend Maggie dropping the Marshal's rifle. I had the opposite reaction. I was worried she was going to keep it. Rule 1 of the first episode of the original show established that gunfire draws the walkers right to you. They're in a city with millions of the things everywhere. A bolt-action rifle has 2, maybe 4 rounds in it. Even if the Marshal had also conveniently dropped a giant duffel of ammo, at best Maggie could have gotten off a couple of shots, and then what she's supposed to do against the other 10,000 or so walkers that come shuffling over when they hear the shot? Dropping the heavy, useless thing that won't fit in your backpack and running seems like the smarter move. Okay, does it sound like I like the show and I'm willing to stick with it? Good, because here comes my thoughts on episode 2, and they won't be quite as complimentary. Well, there you go. She starts off with episode 2 by saying, the payoff with Ginny's character better be absolutely freaking amazing. Because right now I'm just pissed at how much screen time she's taking up in a show with precious little time to spare in order to see both her not be interesting and make everyone around her look like an idiot. I don't know what makes Maggie's people look worse. The fact that they've got time to rake the dirt next to the tomato plants? Why? But haven't gotten around to fixing the giant hole in the wall. Or the fact that a guard whose entire community is built around being ready for walker fights can be lured away from the big hole in the wall by the sound of falling pebbles inside the wall. And thanks, guys, for taking the time to show her dropping the extra pebbles, because we never could have worked that out for ourselves. bunch of eye roll emojis. We know nothing about Ginny apart from a brief trauma description in episode 1. So instead of taking a second to give us an idea of what's going on in her head, instead let's kill some screen time with the two characters we already know in a "my surly son and I are having issues" scene so typical. I found myself wondering if the writers just found an old script from the early season 3 of Walking Dead and scribbled out Laurie and Carl's names. We could have used that time to get to know the New Yorkers a little better. I liked the scene between Maggie and Negan in the bathroom, but I was a little distracted by the fact that they were being held prisoner in a room with a glass window door. Does no one on this show take guarding their perimeter seriously? So the tribe is then under attack. They take Maggie and Negan along in the escape for, reasons. A few minutes later, after killing the character the writers made seem so mysterious and important in the first episode, the Pigeon Lady, now they're suddenly all ready to trust each other. They thank Negan and Maggie for all their, air quotes, help. The help in question seeming to consist largely of being in the way during the escape, not doing much of anything in the fight, and Negan revealing himself to be an utter psychopath. Oh, heck yeah, let's ally with him immediately. He seems fun. I get that he was being terrifying to put on a show to protect the tribe, but the showrunner, in his giddy delight to see Negan tell another knock-knock joke, forgot to make sure one of the New Yorkers saw him do it, thus allowing them to recognize the attempt to help. That's true. They were not there to watch that.
They were not there.
Yeah. So here's why I'm not giving up on the show. The moment after Negan drops the dude off the balcony, when he turns and sees Maggie looking at him and sees himself through her eyes, that was gold. That's my reason for watching it next week. I feel like the actors are doing the heavy lifting for some lazy writing, but I'm trying to make allowances for them only having 6 episodes to tell a story, although maybe waste less of it than... I was also hoping to see more of Negan working on being better. Oh, I am also hoping to see more of Negan working on being better. We got a little taste of that by seeing him try to de-escalate some tense moments, but that is starting to feel less like an actual reform and more like the writers trying to put some goodwill in the bank so they can unleash some more giddy violence later. One more thing about the showrunner, if I learn more about who the different character groups are in the Inside the Episode segment after the show than from watching the show itself, then he is putting his focus on the wrong part of his job. She makes a good point. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Kisses and hugs, Lisa Dupre. P.S. Yeah, that email was long. Trite writing really pisses me off. By the way, she's a writer, so that makes all kinds of sense. I agree with that too. I think Fear did that really, really badly this season. You were confused about stuff and you're like, why did they do it this way? And then they'd give you this description in the episode extras at the end.
The little bonus, yeah.
Yeah. And you'd get this really great description of, oh, we chose to do it this way because this, and this. And you're like, well, why didn't you just say that in the episode rather than tell us at the end? So here's hoping that they improve in this series on doing that. I think that'd be great. When they were calling the Croatian gang like the Baratsi or whatever it was, I didn't need to know that it's a Croatian word. I honestly, it sounded like it was Italian, and that's New York. And I was like, oh, it's an Italian gang. I don't know what that means. So having the explanation was interesting, but they could have figured that into the episode as well, so that they, you educate and entertain at the same time. So I'm right there with you. I agree on some of those points. Lisa, I disagree on others, but I love that you wrote in and told us all about them. So look forward to...
It's amazing.
Yeah, look forward to hearing your feedback on episode 3. So keep writing in. Love it. Moving on.
Right. That's right. Keep getting pissed off by the trite writing because it makes for amazing feedback. So absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Moving on, because we have even more feedback. This comes from just a couple more, but still it's all amazing. Keep it coming. This is from our pal Karen, not related to Lauren Cohen. And she starts out, this is via Facebook, and she says, knock, knock, guys.
Who's there? Who is it?
Karen.
No, seriously, who is it? Oh, it's Karen. That's right. I forgot. Sorry.
You're supposed to say Karen who?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed my joke. Moving on. Okay. Continue.
Anyway, moving on. She goes, I think I like this show, but I mean, compared to Fear, anything looks pretty good.
Agreed.
She goes, I like the old Jewish woman. I hope I'm that spry when I'm that age. She went on the zip line, no problem. I could understand a little bit of what she was saying, which was fun. The word she said a lot was yalla, which means let's go. Her necklace at the end was a cool detail because it was the Hebrew letter, and I want to say it's chai.
Yeah.
Okay. Which means life. L'chaim, to life. The writers are doing more than just giving a rabbi a temple to hang out in. There's a little knock on The Walking Dead. Okay. Yeah. I guess it makes sense to. Oh, that was Fear. That wasn't. What? No, where was the rabbi?
Was he Fear? Yeah, we have.
Yeah, he wasn't.
It's hard to remember because we haven't seen him in ages.
Yeah, okay, so he wasn't Fear. Okay, good. I guess it makes sense to kill her off since no one knows what she's saying. I think he goes, wow, Negan made it rain, and they all just stood there and took a blood shower. Negan and Maggie are fun to watch and easy on the eyes, so I'm not hating this, but could nitpick a few more things. Cheers. Yeah, that's true. All of those the Bruazzi guys and gals that were down on the first floor, they all just stood there and got bathed in that dude's blood and guts and stuff.
They're like, I suppose they would have
moved away.
Yeah.
Maybe we should move over there. No, I'm good. You know,
who cares, really?
That's fun. That's awesome.
I just wanted to point out too that I don't know why, but I think when I watched it on the app or through the app on Thursday or Friday, my internet is so bad that if I try and do the closed captioning while I'm streaming, it gets all jumbled and it never works. So I didn't watch it with the closed captioning, and I couldn't figure out what kind of what nationality the pigeon lady was. But then I watched the broadcast version that was on AMC last night, and the closed captioning was perfect. And when she started to speak, it said Yiddish, and I was like, oh. And then when she was saying yalla yalla, I've heard that in other movies where they've used that before as like let's go in countries that spoke Hebrew. So I was like, oh, that makes all kinds of sense. Thank you very much. So there you go. All right.
Feedback. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Next up, we got feedback from Karen number 2. This is Karen Shee. And Karen wrote in via the Facebook. And she says,
Hello, Karen.
Hey, Karen. She writes in and says, I'll just say that we can hold two truths at the same time. Truth number 1, that Negan has changed since his Savior days, but truth number 2, that that doesn't erase or excuse all the evil he's committed in the past. Negan is undoubtedly charismatic. One can't take your eyes off of him when he's doing the knock-knock joke, but the jokes are all to distract from his monstrosity, and an effect tactic that doesn't always mean it's the right or moral one. In the show, it's fascinating to see that Negan is starting to doubt his statement about only being a monster when he had to be. But outside of the show, I fear that viewers will use this as a convenient excuse to let Negan off the hook and gaslight for his past sins. Out of context, that quote-unquote only need to be a monster when I needed to be is dangerous and toxic. I know we're here to have fun and enjoy a pulpy show, but these kinds of lines have given toxic people so much leeway in real life. The internet is already giddy to glorify the violence of that knock-knock scene. It was cool, but I hope we all see the purpose of it, that Negan now understands what Maggie sees when he puts on a show. And I love all of that feedback, Karen. Thank you so much for writing in. I'm so glad I saw it just as we were about to record. And I snagged it and I put it right on there. Those are some great points. And I think when we were talking about the Negan stuff earlier, I sort of addressed that, where I just want to make sure he doesn't get, whitewashed or, anything like that. And yeah, the point of that scene was for Negan to understand how Maggie views him, and in that shame moment, the one that Lisa said too, the golden moment there when he sees it in her eyes, that there was some understanding there,
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. Again, it's real interesting to see where are they going to go with that.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a whitewashing? Are we going to see Maggie be like, I'm really sorry? Or is it going to be he realizing that, oh my God, I really am this horrible, horrible person that she thinks I am? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see where they're going to go. But amazing feedback, Karen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Karen. Coming up on the podcast next week, we will be tackling episode 3 of Dead City. The title of the episode is "People Are a Resource." Where have I heard that phrase before? I can't place it.
It's familiar. It's
I can tip of my tongue. It's like right there.
Was it on Fear?
I'm telling you right now, there's no fucking way that line was on Fear, because it's smart and logical. Unless it was
maybe
from,
like season 1, 2, or 3 of Fear. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, but that's it. So here's the description that we've been given so far for episode 3. People are a resource. Dark instincts reveal themselves as Maggie and Negan form a strategy. Armstrong is tested. This is obviously the marshal who's been caught by the Croat. And Ginny embarks on a daring journey. Where will she go? I wonder.
Aruba.
Right. The only thing that I find interesting about the marshal is by him being caught, we get to see the Croat interact with an adult. Like how you treat a kid as a prisoner is different than how you would treat an adult, especially a grown-ass man who can take care of himself, who can, physically, like, he can handle himself in a fight or whatever. So I think that is probably the only interesting thing so far about introducing this Marshall character, is it'll give us sort of an insight. Like, I would assume they're going to show him at the Croats, Yeah. And of course, this will give them, even though he's going after Negan, they'll clearly save him in some, capacity, which means he'll be beholden to Negan and all of that.
I'm going to let you go.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how that works. So that's next week's episode. Also, I'm sure it's all over the interwebs by now, but during the broadcast of the episode on AMC last night, they had another look at the Daryl Dixon series. This was a little bit of a longer teaser. It had some more imagery in it.
I saw it on Instagram.
So, you did? Oh, look at that.
AMC's been doing. It's funny, when Fear was on, not so much, but with this show, AMC is doing a lot of internet postings and hey, don't forget and all that. And so I did see it, so it's pretty cool. I thought
they know how they make their bread and butter, and it's with Daryl Dixon and with Negan, no matter what. So it's interesting little teaser. If you haven't seen it already, easy to find on the interwebs. Just YouTube it, I'm sure. There's a little nugget that came out in the news this week that it was about Melissa McBride being there for some filming, whether or not it's currently happening or it had already happened and it got leaked. I'm not clear on that, but I guess the moral of the story is that at some point in the Daryl Dixon series, there will be some Carol. I'm curious, though, if it's a flashback. You know what I mean? Like if they're flashing back to some scene that they haven't filmed just yet or something, you know what I mean? Yeah, that we haven't seen on the main series or something like that. So, Melissa McBride shows up in some capacity seems to be the conventional wisdom right now. So whether that's a flashback or something current remains to be seen. But it'll be nice to see her because Daryl on his own, not that great. And I do enjoy me some Carol. So it'll be nice to know that that's coming.
I just was surprised because, we had gone through the whole, it's the two of them show, and then no, it's just the him show because she doesn't want to do it. And now suddenly she's doing it. So it's just, kind of shocking. So we'll see. We'll see if in a few weeks we get another sudden break of she's not doing it. And
Yeah, we were kidding the whole time. Both of the times that we were kidding again.
She only went to the set of the show to tell them that she would not be appearing on the show.
And she went all the way to the set to tell them
That's right.
so that they got the
in
gear.
Costume and makeup.
Yes.
Right.
She put on the long gray wig and everything, and she was like, "I am not doing this show."
Just so you know, there's no way.
Just so it's clear. Yeah. All right.
Not seeing me in this getup anytime soon.
I love it. Also, no change on when it's going to be premiering. They're still in the vague fall zone. So, like Steve and I have said previously, obviously the writer's strike is going to affect that. So, whether or not they pick a date sometime soon, not sure. And I also haven't seen anything about when Fear's final 6 will show either. I think, like you've said and I've said, I think it's writer's strike dependent as well. So we'll see how that.
And it's not just the writers either, because like I said before, I believe at the end of either June or July, either the directors or the actors' contract is up, and then the next month. If it's the actors this month, it's the directors the next month, or vice versa. So there's a very real possibility that you'll have all three, the writers, actors, and directors, all on strike at the same time. So we really don't know, and they're not really talking. They're not negotiating. It's sort of the writers have made it clear what they want, and the studios have kind of went no, and that's where we're at. So hopefully it'll be resolved, but again, you never know, and I think we just have to kind of expect or plan that fall TV is going to be delayed at least a little. Yeah.
Be prepared, people. Find some shows that you haven't gotten to yet and just put them in your queue and don't even think about it. Just do your thing.
Hey, you know what? Just load up Walking Dead season 1, episode 1, and just begin the journey all over again.
You might as well. Why not?
Sure.
Can't recommend it enough. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Thanks so much for listening in once again. We look forward to chatting with you next week to talk about Dead City episode number 3. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
Don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because body shots just don't work. To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at my wife. We're recording. She came all the way in and gave me a kiss.
You're welcome.
Jeez, that's so sweet. I'll edit
Steve.
I'll edit all of this out.
Keep that mushy stuff out of the podcast, will you?